Hello, good day, good evening, or good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to the Governing Board General Conference Business Meeting Preparation. Yes, it's almost here. I know you're all excited. Actually, it's great to know that so many folks, clergy, elders, staff, as well as lay delegates and folks who are interested, have joined into this webinar today to participate and learn a little bit more about what will be happening in the Business Meeting Forum and the Business Meeting at General Conference. I am Reverend Elder Rochelle Brown, Interim Moderator. Would like to welcome Reverend Onetta Brooks, who is part of this Business Meeting fanfare that we're involved in. We have many other Governing Board members involved behind the scenes, as well as various committees. We're here today to do the kickoff, and you're going to hear from many other folks between now and General Conference. So very quickly, we're going to have a very basic, this welcome prayer introduction moment. The purpose of this webinar, go into various updates, tell you more about the business package, eligibility, and then we're going to end with a crescendo of the General Conference update. Lauren Bennett will be here to tell us more, and we'll have a time for questions and answers. As you will notice on your screen to the left, if you've not participated in these webinars before, to the left are the places that you type your questions. It's not a chat box. We will answer the questions at the end. They're not being ignored, but we want to create a bank of questions in which if someone has a similar question, they're not repeated, we can pay attention. But please put your questions there on the left. We'll address them at the end. So most of all, a welcome to you, and let us begin in a word of prayer. Loving and gracious God, we come to you with open hearts. We come to you with an openness to where your Spirit is leading us and guiding us for this day and for this time. We ask that you be with us, guide us, help us learn with and from one another as we prepare for meeting in person in Orlando for General Conference. May you bless us and be with us in all ways. In all the names that are holy in Jesus the Christ. Amen. So what is the purpose of this webinar? Well, business meeting topics. What are we going to have in the business meeting? And what's the process for lay and clergy delegates? So the goal today is to answer a question. What do you need to know to prepare for the General Conference business meeting? Any other questions that may arise, but this has been the guiding question is, what do you need to know? What do you need to be prepared for? And a few highlights of what will happen during the business meeting, definitely the forum, but in the meeting, we're going to receive reports from the Governing Board, the Interim Moderator, myself, including financial reports. We're going to vote various motions, bylaw proposals. We're going to elect a moderator and a new Governing Board. And we're going to celebrate with expressions of gratitude, including awards and acknowledgments. Onetta, it's yours.
All right, I'm excited. Thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to talking about the moderator candidates, as well as the Governing Board candidates. I think by now you're aware of the slate of 3 moderator candidates that have been presented by the Moderator Nominating Committee. We've been listening to the Meet the Candidates, and we look forward to the next 3 webinars which the MNC has announced, where you'll have an opportunity to hear each of the individual candidates talk. If you want information about the schedule, look on the website of the MNC, as well as if you have any questions, feel free to contact them directly at the mnc@mccchurch.net email address. So I'm excited about that. Our Governing Board Nominating Committee update. As you know now, we have 10 Governing Board candidates who have come forward to offer their service, and thus far there will not be webinars for the Governing Board candidates, but by May, the first part of May, each of the 10 candidates will provide a 2-minute video to give you a little more expression of their purpose or desire to serve on the governing board. Again, I invite you, if you have questions and want more information about the governing board candidates, go to the governing board nominating committee website, look at the bios. Pretty soon the videos will be there. And again, if you have any questions about the process or details, contact the GBMC at mccchurch.net. So I'm excited about the slates and those who are offering their service to MCC at this time. Well, we talk about business meeting and the business forum. For a day and a half when we arrive at General Conference, we have an opportunity on Monday afternoon for 4 hours, July 1st, from 1:30 until 3:30. You will have an opportunity to have discussion. We will have time segments of the agenda provided where the moderator candidates, GBMC governing board candidates, will talk a little bit more about the election process, procedures, amendments, and basically all of those elements that are listed as the business package, the business documents that you're going to prepare for. That is the only time in the afternoon where there will be conversation and the opportunity within the time specified where you can ask questions and have interactions with the candidates and members of the governing board and items on the business package. So please do come and participate in that meeting. On Tuesday, there is an agenda for the business meeting. It is for the whole day, and the goal is that this is more procedural. We will go through the items. We will have opportunities to, again, elect in the morning a moderator as well as governing board members. This is the opportunity to affirm the slate. Number 6, where you see voting for bylaw proposals, we are going to vote on any bylaw procedures, such as one that is already listed in the package where the current term of office for the governing board members is 6. There is a recommendation to change the term of office to 3 years. That was initially proposed in 2010. So we're in the morning session on Tuesday, July 2nd. The goal is by lunchtime we will have elected members of the governing board as well as an elected moderator, which will allow each of us when we go to lunch to have conversation and continue that conversation of what it will be like in the next few years. The afternoon of the business meeting, we will continue receiving the reports of the interim moderator, the governing board. We will have the rest of the bylaw amendments. We will have acknowledgments and recognitions. We will celebrate grants, and we will share with you where the 2022 General Conference will take place. So again, just wanted to give you a flavor or an opportunity to view what a busy day we will have on Tuesday at the business meeting. Now, how do you prepare for the business meeting? And how do we make the day and a half very efficient and make sure we address questions and concerns of each of you? Well, the business package is stored on the General Conference webpage. You'll probably go to schedule business meeting, and right now there are draft documents of the nine documents that you see present on the list. We have a draft agenda for both the forum and the business meeting I've just talked about. The good news is for some lay delegates, perhaps this is your first time, and again you're wondering what and how should you prepare your congregation, and to provide some guidance for you on how to vote on their behalf. There's a document to give you a little heads up on that. The procedure handbook is the document that we'll talk a little bit in the next slide or two about what to expect in voting and how the business will be conducted during that time. And again, reports already from the MNC and the GBC are already posted. Now currently we do have in number 7 bylaw amendments. However, the governing board as well as the Council of Elders has until May 1st to submit their bylaw amendments, and they will then be posted prior to June 1st. And again, reports of the governing board and the interim moderator. So you have a reading list, and it's a good opportunity to go to the website, look at these documents, and again prepare yourself for July 1st and July 2nd. I want to talk about some highlights for the voting process that is documented in our procedure handbook. I want to note that you've probably seen the video, and in case you're wondering how to use the handheld video, don't worry. At the end of the this presentation, we will have that video run, and you'll have an opportunity to see more of what this pocket-size kind of credit card voting machine will look like. But the highlights that you'll see documented in the procedure handbook is that it will talk about how to cast the votes that will count. You will see that, again, simple majority, greater than 50%, is how we candidates are elected. Again, those who receive the highest votes in both the clergy house and the lay house are elected. We also will note in this general conference, after reviewing the Robert's Rules as well as some of the best practices of other denominations, no blanks, no abstentions, none of the above. Only votes cast will be counted. We will go up to 3 rounds, and again, we are implementing a below 17% elimination rule in both houses for candidates as we go for electing our candidates. So what positions are vacant and available on July 2nd? We will elect 1 moderator, therefore you will cast a vote for 1. In terms of the governing board, there are 8 vacant seats for clergy and 4 laypersons, and so you will cast a vote for up to 4 for the clergy persons, and the same is up to 4 for the laypersons. Who are the members of the clergy house? Authorized, accountable, and active clergy, including members of the governing board and council of elders. Honorably retired clergy are members of our clergy house, our delegates. Who are our lay house delegates? Your local church lay delegates, 1 per 100 in your congregation. Lay interim pastoral leaders, lay members serving on both the council of elders and or the governing board. Rochelle?
So, thank you, Onetta. That was a lot of information. That was great. Thank you. Church and lay delegate voting eligibility. This has been a conversation that we have tried as a governing board to be very proactive about what does it mean to be eligible for voting. So I have one of these if-then logic charts. For those of you that need visual, I'm sorry, there are no little arrows, but that can be modified. On the left, it says, if yes, to assessment reports and payments received and less than 6 months missing. And if yes, to Board of Pensions USA current through, and I'm seeing a correction in time from our Board of Pensions Administrator saying through the first quarter of 2019, so that will be updated. So thank you. If yes to both of those, assessment reports and payments received and less than 6 months missing, and if you are a U.S. congregation, Board of Pensions USA current through the first quarter of 2019, which has ended at the end of March. Yes to both the church and the lay delegates are eligible. If no, to assessment reports and payments received and less than 6 months missing, that is one piece. If the church is inside the U.S., if the no is to Board of Pensions, even if the assessments are current, the answer is still no. So it's either of them, if no or if no. In that, a church is ineligible, and this includes the senior pastor and any lay delegates. A question has come up about votes and as well as about voice. So Voice is for folks in emerging churches, Oasis congregations, or Oasis groups, standing by call, transfer clergy, of the like. We will have a list of who has voice but no vote. We will be very intentional about badges. We've even talked about color coding to try to help us understand the voice and the vote issue. And I think that's very important. And I believe it's very important for us to be clear about the Board of Pensions piece, because the Board of Pensions is a liability. It's in our bylaws. And so that's something that I believe is not always understood. We also want to be very intentional and very careful. We have been in dialogue with churches. I don't think any churches will be surprised. We've been very intentional over the last 6 months to reach out to churches that might be behind or might have missing reports or missing payments. We want to make sure that that as many people as possible will be eligible to vote. So this has been our mission, and we've been working very diligently at that. And we will get to questions at the end, so thank you. And if you have any questions, please do post them. We are trying to have all of this done and eligibility notification done by May 1st. We know things change. Many churches have started a restoration plan, or what we call an agreement, and we're honoring those agreements. And if the churches are honoring the agreements, then we are all working towards the same direction and meeting the same goals. So this is very important. This is an important topic, and if you have any questions, we're going to have a list of who to reach out to at the end. So we'll have a slide with names and people to reach out to. So at this stage, we're going to move forward and invite Lauren Bennett here to be on screen and to share more about the general conference bigger picture. We have the business meeting forum on Monday, the actual business meeting on Tuesday, but there are many, many other days and things occurring, as we want to update you before we get to some of the questions. It'll also give you all time to formulate any questions you might have. So Lauren, it's all yours.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see your names on the participant list. I am grateful to be here today. So General Conference is coming. We have about 80 days until General Conference, which hopefully for you is exciting. To me, it means a long to-do list, but I'm excited about that too. We have our programming schedule up. I'm putting a link in the chat right now so you can check that out. In the coming weeks, we'll be putting on a lot more information about what is included there, including times. We've had some people ask about times, so we'll start to put that in the next couple of weeks. So be looking for that. If you haven't already, we have an app. So if you haven't already downloaded it yet, you can go to your Mac or Apple or Android store, your Google Plus store, any of those stores, and search for Metropolitan Community Churches, and you'll find our handy app. And you can do everything you can do on the website on the app. So download that. You can check it out. We also have a lot of just information, and we'll be using that throughout conference to collect survey data and send out notifications for changes on site and that sort of thing too. So while you're sitting here, you can even download it right now. It's a free app. We have, thank you, Rochelle, Vanna on this side. Yes, downloaded the app. Thank you for that. We have our worship preachers are starting to be announced. Obviously, I think most folks should know by now that our opening worship service, Reverend Troy Perry, is going to bring the word to us. And on Tuesday night after the business meeting, which we've talked about for this meeting so far, Bishop Yvette Flunder will bring the word for us on Tuesday night as well. So the rest of our preachers will be of the same caliber, and we're really excited to announce those in the next couple of weeks as well. You should have gotten an email this week. If you haven't gotten an email about sponsorships, please let us know, because that means you're not on our email list. So on Monday, we sent out an email just reminding folks of sponsorships. And so we can take sponsorships at all levels, all the way from a shout out if you want to say thank you to someone for something that they've done in your local church, if you want to congratulate someone because they're graduating or they're becoming ordained or they recently retired, if you want to remember someone who might have passed between the last General Conference and this one, we are accepting shout outs all the way through May 1st, so you have about a month to do that. And we're also accepting shout outs from congregations. This is our 50th anniversary program book. It'll be a keepsake item for sure. A lot of people like to keep their program books anyway, and this one will have a lot of interesting stuff in it. So if you want to recognize your congregation or something like that, that would be a great thing to do as well. We are looking to get a photo of every active community that's involved in MCC and put it in the program book. So we're asking you to send a photo of your congregation. It can be, everybody comes together on Easter and is in their Sunday best and take a picture in an Easter bonnet. It could be all sorts of other kind of events that you're having. It can also be a less formal photo of your congregation, but we want to make sure that we have a good representation, and our goal is to get all of our churches represented in the program book. So you can send that to us at conferences@mccchurch.net. Hopefully all of you are registered because you're involved in the business in some way in the church. But if you're not registered, it's not too late. And we also have day rates and event rates. So if you're not able to come to the whole conference or you can't afford to come to the whole conference, we're trying to make it more affordable for folks and have some more flexibility. So if you have any questions on that, you can email us or just go online. And if you haven't booked your hotel yet, please book that as soon as possible. You can go onto the Celebrate website to book that and go into the Hilton Orlando portal. And if you need accessibility accommodations and are having a hard time navigating that online, it can be kind of difficult sometimes, just send us an email and we'll take care of those for you. The thing we really want to talk about right now is one of the ways that your congregation can get involved, and that's through our resource exchange. In the chat, I'm putting a link to where the application is, where you can send in what resources you want to bring to the resource exchange. And we're really excited about this. It's going to be on Friday, so it'll be one of the last programming items before the installation of our new moderator. And so if you picture like an elementary school science fair, it's kind of going to be like that. So we'll have rows of different folks sharing resources about worship, about stewardship, about all sorts of things. We have a whole list of different categories to get your brain working and thinking about some of the things that you are doing excellently in your local churches and want to share with others. And we're hoping this to be a green event. So we're not asking you to come with 5 reams of paper of your best resources, but rather we're going to ask you to give it to us electronically, and then we'll be able to cultivate all of those things and create an online resource for those who are attending conference and those who are not. Our goal is to get 50 different resources shared here, so help us do that by clicking that link and filling out the application. The application is really just to make sure we don't have a lot of duplication, so we're excited to see the kinds of things that you'll have there. If you haven't already gotten a ticket for the gala, you can do that online now. I'm going to put another link in the chat. And you can order your tickets. We have tickets at 2 price points, $50 and $150 for VIP. Some folks have asked what the difference is. VIP is a front row section, and it also includes drinks. Chad is on our team and is really excited about that. So we're excited about all the things that are happening. Tony Arias is our main performer, but we have a whole host of other performers who will be there as well. So it'll be a great event. So please join us for that. If you have some questions about MCC history and polity and are kind of over your head in some things, we're offering the MCC history and polity class at General Conference, which will be a great opportunity. So if you need a refresher or you've never taken history or polity, you don't have to be in care for ordination or in the lead program. You can be just a person. Any person can take MCC history and polity. So it's a great opportunity for that if you want to do that during General Conference. We also have a number of pre-conference institutes, so you can a look at these here, but we have a whole bunch that start on Friday and extend through Sunday. On Sunday, as you'll notice, there's the Sunday afternoon prayer retreat, which will be from 1 to 5. So that'll be a great way if you want to come just for a few hours before General Conference and before the gala to kind of set yourself well to be able to be in the space with one another. So all of these pre-conference institutes you can sign up for online through Eventbrite or through the Celebrate website. And all of them are a fee by donation, and there's a suggested donation price, but we don't want price to exclude anyone from being able to participate. And so we're excited to be able to offer those as a donation. And that's all I have. If you have questions, you can email us. I can put my email in the chat. And if you have other questions that we don't get to tonight, you can obviously bring them up, and we'll try our best to write an email so that that information gets spread more widely.
Thank you, Lauren. And these institutes look amazing. There's some different things we're trying out, and we really do hope that people come in a little bit early and come and check out the hotel and spend some time fellowshipping and also learning a few things together. So thank you for this, Lauren, and we're excited, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you in Orlando, and more and more and more. So there are a few people who do I contact and how do I get a hold of them? Governing board questions. Anything about the business meeting, anything about eligibility, voter eligibility, anything, let's just send that to the governing board right now. It'll be streamlined and answered quickly, because we realize that time is of the essence right now. We ask that all MNC questions, even questions regarding candidates or webinars, go directly to the MNC. Same thing for the Governing Board Nominating Committee, GBMC. Things related to conference, all things conference. It's just conferences at mccchurch.net, or you can find it at the celebrate.mccchurch.org website. Lauren Bennett can be reached directly at laurenbennett@mccchurch.net. Communications, you have questions about communications or anything about media or public relations or releases to the media, please contact communications. Linda Brenner will respond, and so we completely want to hear from you. And I know that Lauren mentioned it, but we do want to say we are looking for sponsors, and we do want to have a fabulous program book. And that program book is going to be a keepsake for our 50th anniversary, and it will be something that will, be a living history of where we are today. So please do reach out to folks that you believe would be sponsors, or, like I said, do the shout outs and provide a picture of your congregation. So with that in mind, we're going to go next back to Onetta as we start to field some of these questions that folks have asked and any others that might arise.
All right. So let's address the questions. I think the first that Tammy Irwin has posted, we've changed first quarter. The question being, pension are to be paid through the first quarter of 2019. So thank you for that. Chad, you've asked, please clarify, quote, less than 6 months missing, unquote, in reference to the eligibility on assessments. We're just saying that basically that if there are 6 months or only less than 6 months, everything must be current, but if there are missing the last or less than 6 months, there is concern of eligibility, and please talk to us on your statements, or to make sure where your paperwork, where your payments. Let's again cross-check that with your assessment plan. Is there anything else on that?
What I would add is, to be more clear, there are times that we may not have 2 or 3 months at the beginning of a year, or sometimes 5 or 6 months at the beginning of a year, or a spot here, a spot there, and that usually it's a matter of ensuring the record keeping is correct. And what we want to do is we don't want something to be missing in a few places here and there, and it will add up to 6 months, and that would lead to an ineligibility, and folks aren't aware. So that's why we're reaching out and we're letting people know. It's going through and ensuring when we put it out, our database, we now have a database that is updated, and we started using it in about a year ago, and it's imperfect because people enter data into a database, and we want to make sure everything is correct. So if it gives us a report that it shows six pieces are missing, either payment or report, then we're going to let you know before the deadline. So churches in this situation already know this because we've reached out to get everything repaired and restored and ensure that everything's in place.
Correct. The next question, does no to voting include a church's staff clergy? The response to that is no. It's specific to the senior pastor, per our polity defines the moderator. So it's specific to the senior pastor of the church if their lay delegates are also ineligible. Now the next one is a great question. Thank you, Janelle. Is anyone out there going to develop and share a PowerPoint delegates can use at congregational forums to let our congregations know about candidates and issues? The answer is no. I appreciate in 2016 a wonderful person created this opportunity, and we did not have the resources to be able to update that chart. It was a volunteer who created it, and it was a wonderful tool, so I'm sorry. But if someone wants to step forward, talk to me. I have that 2016 template, and if you're willing to update it to the current situation, I would love to have that happen. So thank you for that.
One thing I can add is we do have quite a few webinars that can be shown on occasion, and links can be provided. But I really appreciate the question as well, and look forward to something to simplify or at least present, consolidate is probably the word, to put everything into one space that can be presented to congregations so lay delegates can present it and receive feedback. So thank you.
Yeah. The next question, no absentee voting this time either, correct? If you're referring to absentee or proxy voting, the answer is no. Our bylaws don't allow that. Are you speaking of virtual voting? Is there that opportunity? There may be an opportunity. Stay tuned. What's this next one? The question is, I may have lost this information, but there will be a list of, will there be a list of people who can vote before General Conference? And are we having the online votes as we did in the last General Conference? I'll do the second part. We are considering the online, if you're talking about a form of virtual voting. We are in discussion, and as I just say, stay tuned, and you may hear more about that in the days of coming. That has come up. The other part of your question, in terms of a list, we ask you to...
I think the question...
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I can rephrase it. How do you know that you're eligible to vote? Will you receive a notification that you are eligible to vote, or is it just you'll receive a notification if you're ineligible? How do people know that they're eligible? Is that a better way of phrasing it? Okay, Onetta?
Yeah, so I'm reminded, I know that we've been asking people to submit their information about their lay delegates to Janie McCarthy, and we have a list. So I think what should happen is have the person's contact, is it properly called Janine McCarthy, and Mike Hazy? Janine Hazy, my apology. I do that often, so at commencements I don't pronounce people's names. The short story is this, send in an email, we can clarify that for you. If you're saying a list per se that people can look or we post that, no we don't, but if you contact Mike Hazy as well as Janine, we will make sure, and she's going to hurt me because I mispronounced her name twice, we will make sure we can cross-check the list. What else is there? I'm referring to what was available last conference. again, virtual voting, there will be some form. I will talk about if that's available at a later time. We're in the process of creating what that is, and when that or if that is available in the form that it will, we will make an announcement hopefully after Easter if we're able to offer some level, what level of virtual voting like last conference we can offer.
I think, and the question that's being asked as a follow-up, will it be the governing board that decides about virtual voting, and if so? The answer is yes.
Okay.
The governing board has been in that discussion and has had consultation, and the technology question has arisen, so there are lots of things to check out, and that's the piece that we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah. So from a governing perspective, we are open. We're just making sure what we can, again, offer, because it's important with the technology as well as other aspects of cost, et cetera, what we can offer. And we have considered that. We just want to make sure we're firm on what we can deliver. And then we will get back with you after Easter in that implementation.
Are there any other questions?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? And use the left piece, and we thank you for asking because it's very important.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Could you say more about the pros and cons of virtual voting with all of this other stuff as context?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So in the procedure manual, we discuss on-site voting, the participation of it. With the machine, there is always the opportunities of going the multiple rounds. In the procedure handbook, we outline that we're offering up to 3 rounds for governing board candidates as well as moderator candidates. What we were offering in 2016 was 1 round, and that was the limitation of virtual voting at that time. I believe we used SurveyMonkey, and so there was a limitation on what the delegates could cast a vote for. We are looking now with the technology of this handheld product and another application online. We want to confirm if we're able not only to offer rounds, up to all rounds with live streaming going of what all the voting that takes place on the same day for moderator, governing board, and if possible, bylaw motions or amendments as well as motions. So we want to include, see after we test the system if we can enhance the virtual voting in 2019 using the technology of the company. I hope that addressed your questions. So you want the pros and the cons. That's the thing. You know, one of the things I'm going to say, the con about virtual voting, because of the technology, in the event internet access is not available or live stream availability were to go down, the persons would not be able to participate in the live streaming and vote at the same time. So
the other con that is just really important is voice. So the lack of voice in the virtual voting scenario is one that has been considered and will continue to be considered. The pro is having as many eligible individuals voting as possible. The con is the voice issue. And so technology is not always available in places, and the technology can fail, and we acknowledge that, and we can't fix some of that. So that's very important.
Yes. Yeah. So the question was, we won $81. No, for February.
Someone is.
I'm sorry.
I don't think that was a. That was the wrong paste and cut.
Okay, that's not our cut. Thank you very much.
And I see questions in the chat box, and if someone can help ensure that questions in the chat box do not that get moved to the question box, because we're not watching the chat box. Okay, here we go. Here's what was meant to be posted.
The question is, the person gives the name, does the governing board have an established plan in the event that elections for necessary positions does not elect candidates? The answer is yes. And if you're asking what the script will have a scenario of that. If you're asking what the process is, if a moderator candidate is not elected, per the bylaws, the elected governing board will go forth and elect an interim moderator. In the event that all the seats are not filled for governing board candidates after we go the number of rounds, what normally takes place is that governing board body will then meet and they will appoint to fill the vacant spots that are not filled on the governing board. Currently, our bylaws say there are 8 seats. There are 4 clergy, 4 lay, and so they will begin a process after their service begins to fill appropriately. So the answer is yes. Also, what I want to lift up is that we have what we call, you've heard of the intentional transition team. We've been looking at transition plans, and we have training orientation concepts for the outgoing and the incoming. And again, we will have a section, if we haven't, again identifying the what ifs. But I am personally believing that the seats for both moderator as well as governing board will be filled when we leave General Conference 2019. That's my prayer and my hope.
I want to return back to the slide about the voting procedures.
Please.
One thing that's very important, if you go to the procedures manual, which is available in the business meeting packet, there are very important things. We'll establish quorum. People will have handheld voting devices. Of the votes cast is what we will count.
Correct.
So 50% of the votes cast. There's not a none of the above. There's not an abstention. And the only votes counted are the ones that are cast. And so this is following parliamentary procedure. And so in the House, in both houses, we will count them, and at 50% in both houses. So Mike, our fabulous IT person, has run and will continue to run all sorts of scenarios to see if that is even possible based on quorum. And technically, it is possible with 3 candidates and the counting only votes that are cast. It is possible to achieve election, especially with the moderator. The governing board, since you have up to 4 people, the math gets a little more complicated in the scenarios. So there's 4 people in each house, clergy and lay, and that are elected, and we have 5 candidates. And so is it possible that we do not achieve election for both houses, from both houses? That is possible, which is why we need to talk about the potential and highlight the bylaws and what the plans are and having those plans in place. And there is a intentionality in having that, and we deeply appreciate the fact of wanting to see those ahead of time to ensure that's all covered. So that's wonderful.
But I also want to add, in 2013 and 2016, in terms of the governing board seats that were vacant, even with elimination of 25% in one case, and in the other no elimination rules were applied, all seats were filled on the first round. So with the math, we are comfortable, I am comfortable, that the algorithm will take care of the election in that case. I also want to let you know we will have, along with the voting machine and the software that supports it, we will have a slate of judges, the tabulation team that we call, to again verify all of the information before we share it with the constituents there on the outcome of the election.
There's one question, is how many people are currently serving on the governing board, or are we electing the whole new board? No one on the current governing board is running for election. So no one's terms are going forward. When people were appointed, they were not appointed to fill a longer term. They were appointed up until General Conference. So no one has a term that's continuing forward. And so that's why an entirely new governing board is being elected at this general conference. And with that in mind, which is why we're very intentional about having orientation, and really not just an orientation, but what we're calling an integration plan.
Right.
Because orientation is one component, integration is that we're going to have a period of overlap between the outgoing governing board members and the new board, overlap between myself and the elected moderator. That will go from general conference, which will start orientation integration at general conference before folks leave, all the way through September 1st. And so this is an intensive plan, and it's one that is unique for this circumstance, but hopefully can be adaptable for other occasions of elections.
Right. And added to that, you've probably heard of the Policy 11 that we updated, where the start of the new moderator-elect will be September 1st. But we've done, and the outgoing governing board term expires on the first meeting in July. The last meeting is in July, and this time July 25th. That will be the handover of the outgoing governing board and the incoming governing board. We are giving the incoming elected governing board an opportunity to have orientation. Hopefully, now that you're on the line for those, the afternoon of July 5th, which is Friday and Saturday morning, we have orientation plan so that people are oriented and trained, so that when that's July 25th meeting takes place, and we have put all our ducks in orders, signing of signatory cards for the bank, et cetera, when we will hand off the mantle at that time. And again, one goes out and one comes in, and the business of MCC will continue to operate efficiently.
I hope this is helpful for churches as well as lay delegates and for clergy. We know there are some new lay delegates. We know some lay delegates been around for a while, but this is a little bit of a different scenario. And so we want to ensure that whether you're an incoming lay delegate or have been around for a little bit, that we want to make sure that folks are informed ahead of time. Please do spend some time, download the packet, take a look at the procedural manual. And most of all, if there's anything I can emphasize, come to the forum. That Monday afternoon, it's very, very important that Monday afternoon of the forum, we are there to discuss the various pieces. We're there to have discussion and dialogue. It's not just restricted to the business meeting floor. When we get to the business meeting, we want to have a lot of discussion, answer a lot of questions, be able to engage folks. So I think that's important.
So I think, unless I've missed something, we've addressed all of those, your questions. Technology is not allowing, so great, we've answered that question. Again, there is if you have any additional questions, feel free to send your questions to the governing board at mccchurch.net, and we would love to address any additional concerns you have. I also will let you know this is not the last of our webinars on the business meeting. We wanted to make sure there was the first, that we give you some introduction and to prepare you as you go into Holy Week, that you can kind of pray on this and anticipate what's coming. But June 4th and June 6th, there will be the last business webinars, both in English as well as Spanish and Portuguese, where we will give you an update on where we are and what to look forward as you come to General Conference the following week. So stay tuned. They will also be recorded, and an opportunity for people to review and get prepared. So we wanted to make sure you have something before Holy Week comes.
I'll repeat it. The dates are June 4th and June 6th. That's a Tuesday and a Thursday, and they'll be at different times to accommodate the various time zones. So we will have that for you, and they'll be announced. They have not been announced in an email or headline news or anything yet. We just finished that up. So So do watch that, and we're going to make sure the MNC and the Governing Board Nominating Committee, they get all of their webinars in and their videos out before we return back to the business meeting.
Right.
We'll help you
and
focus.
When those come out. Yeah, good. And when those come out, the good news is in headline news and also I'm sure a section in the General Conference newsletter. So definitely those things will come. So don't be shy. You'll see some more information. We want you to be a part of that conversation.
All right.
I think we're done. Unless there is, I would like to invite Mike to present us with a brief video. Please open your hearing and listening.
We are excited to announce we will once again be using electronic voting devices at the 2019 General Conference. This short video will refresh your memory or explain how the voting devices work. On Tuesday, the day of the business meeting, eligible clergy and lay delegates will look for signs directing them to different sign-in tables. Once signed in, you will be given a voting device. The device is the same size as a credit card, with 10 buttons that are used for voting. During the business meeting, a slide will be projected with numbered voting options. The slide will be projected first, but voting will not begin until the voting clerk announces that voting is now open. Once the clerk announces that voting is now open, you will press the numbered button to indicate your choice. The display screen on the voting device will briefly show your choice as it is being transmitted. If you press an ineligible button, an error will appear in the display screen. While voting is open, you can change your vote by simply pressing another choice. When the voting clerk announces that voting is now closed, no more votes will be transmitted. The results will immediately be known and once verified will be announced to the General Conference. If you have difficulty or questions during voting, there will be helpers walking the floor to assist. Following the business meeting, you will return your device as you leave the room. If you lose or do not return your device, you will be responsible for the replacement cost. If you have any other questions about General Conference or the voting devices, please email conferences@mccchurch.net. See you in Orlando at General Conference.
And so in that spirit of just celebrating 50 years and just knowing again that the best is yet to come, I offer this closing prayer. Dear loving God, holy friend, just thank you for those who are part of MCC, our past, our present, and those to come. As we again to prepare our spirits, not only for Holy Week, as we again to have that resurrection moment that is very personal and tender for each of us, again let us celebrate MCC and again open ourselves to being not only the change that we want others to be, but also the change and the love that we want ourselves to be. So lift up everyone. We celebrate you in the mighty name of Jesus, the living Christ. Amen. And what I would like to say, see you at General Conference in Orlando, Florida.
Thank you all.